What's up gamers, you have TigerChainsaw here, and today I am reviewing a game on the Master System from 1986. In fact, this game is from my childhood and I played a ton of hours on it growing up, but I'm curious on if it holds up today. That game is Choplifter, and Choplifter started out on the Apple II computer, it got ported into the arcades, and then it got reprogrammed for the Master System. And to me, it was pretty special, but we'll find out if it's any good today. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, or if you just haven't yet, make sure you hit that sub button because I have plenty of Master System content from retrospectives and plenty of countdowns. And I'm going to be starting to do some reviews on Master System games, so make sure you don't miss any of that content by subbing. Alright, Choplifter has an interesting objective. You're rescuing instead of destroying. So how does it all come together, and does it make for a good game? Let's find out. In 1982, Dan Gorlin developed the game Choplifter for the Apple II computer. 4 years later, Sega reprogrammed the game with updated graphics to the Sega Master System in 1986. Choplifter was one of the very first games I ever played as a child, and I've got quite a few memories of it. The gameplay revolves around rescuing hostages and flying them back to your base as enemies zoom around you. Let's get into this chopper and head into the horizon for this Choplifter review. But first, the plot. And I don't think there's any spoilers, but spoilers ahead? Pockets of international hostages are trapped all across the world, in the Middle East, in the South Seas, and in a secret base somewhere in a cavern. You man a helicopter rescue team, and your job is to take your helicopter down, rescue the hostages, and fly them back to safety, all while dodging and destroying dangerous enemy fire. This is an action-packed helicopter game at its best, or so the back of the box says. The description is pretty straightforward. Save the hostages, dodge the enemy fire, and move on to the next level. There's really not a plot, but it's what you get. So let me start off this gameplay section of Choplifter with something I always noticed as a child. If you fire up this game, you get the main menu, and if you wait a few seconds, the Choplifter starts firing its guns. But who is it firing at? These people are waving for safety, and the Choplifter is just blowing them away. It literally looks like the Choplifter is mowing down these hostages. But it always caught my eye as a child, and as an adult, I think this is hilarious. Now, the first thing that you probably will notice about Choplifter is the beautiful and vivid colors of the game. The skies in particular really stand out to me. There's a bright blue sky that lights up the background in level 1, but my all-time favorite is that pink sky in level 2. I can't really recall a time where the color pink was used so much in a level, especially back in the 80s, and it really works as a sunset over the ocean in Choplifter. The foundation of Choplifter is to rescue hostages. There's really no pressure to destroy the enemies that are flying around in levels. It does increase your score, but it doesn't do anything to progress you to the next level. Now, don't get me wrong, shooting them is satisfying and it definitely clears a path for you, but you could go through pretty much all the levels and not destroy a single enemy fighter and just focus on the hostage jails, and you'll progress through the game. The first level takes place in a desert where you must pilot your helicopter against jet fighters, missile launchers, tanks, and other hostile enemies. To rescue the hostages, you must fire upon the jail to destroy the doors for the hostages to run out of the burning building. Next, you'll land the helicopter near the building, but don't land directly in front of the doorway, as you will crush the hostages as they run out. Now, it's also important to note, you don't want to stay on the ground for too long. You need to continuously press up on the controller pad to kind of hover above the ground while also landing so a hostage can jump on the helicopter. If you don't do this, you'll soon attract ground enemies like tanks or jeeps, and in later levels, you'll get missiles or fire spray. So make sure you press that up button every few seconds while you're rescuing the hostages. To beat a level, you'll have to rescue a certain amount of hostages at each stage. Once that number is reached, the level is cleared. You only have a certain amount of lives, so if you get blown up, which will happen, or if too many hostages die, it's game over. The hostages will die if enemies shoot at them while they are running on the ground, if you land on them, or if you're flying them to safety and you get blown up, all the hostages on board also die. Now there is some skill required to move on from the first two levels. The first, as I said, is a desert, with the second one being set in the middle of the ocean. You'll have to maneuver between submarine missiles and destroyer boats blasting away at you. Not only will you be landing on the ships, but you will also be making water landings as you rescue hostages that are swimming about in the ocean. The difficulty curve really ramps up in the third level, however, and it gave me nightmares as a kid. The hostage buildings in this stage are hidden in a cavern. Not only will you have to avoid enemy fighters flying around in some advanced aircrafts, but you'll have to duck relatively low to avoid the cavern spikes. But don't fly too low or else you will get hit by spitting lava. It's the most difficult stage in all of the game, and one that took me until I was in my teenage years to beat. Once you beat the third level, the first three levels repeat just with different backgrounds. The first one is just the desert at night, the second one is the ocean just with the blue sky, and the sixth one I believe is just the exact same as the third one, but maybe a little bit tougher. As you make your way through the game, you really need to be careful because one hit will kill you. The game also likes to be really dramatic when the ship gets blown up. The music will just stop as your choplifter falls to the ground in a fiery heap of scrap. And when your wreckage hits the ground, you are greeted with this intense music and a game over screen. Now, while the game over music is kind of intense, the overall soundtrack to Choplifter is really good. It's really catchy, and I found myself humming it after I was done playing. So Choplifter has a really cool foundation where you rescue hostages instead of trying to destroy every enemy. It's got really good graphics, and the soundtrack is really catchy. But there are a few things that I wish were better. Yes, there are 6 levels to complete, but it's still just way too short. And I really don't like the fact that the last 3 levels are essentially repeaters. I also thought that maybe a boss inclusion would have really gone far for this game. Like at the end of the level, maybe there's this hostage base that's being protected by a particularly strong enemy, like a big jet fighter or a huge warship or a futuristic aircraft. I don't know, I just kind of feel like they missed an opportunity to add a big boss in these levels. For your weapons, you have 2 options of firing. You can shoot your machine gun, which you will do 90% of the time, but you also can tilt your helicopter toward the screen and drop a few bombs, which is crucial to blow up enemies on the ground. Choplifter is such an easy game to pick up and play. It's a really good game if you want to burn 10 minutes or if you want to burn an hour. Once you kind of master the flying mechanics, it's a really smooth game to play. Choplifter stands out with its colorful backgrounds and catchy music. The gameplay itself is pretty simple, but it had a unique goal as opposed to other shooters, where you needed to rescue hostages. And it's a fun goal. I always liked that my brave little pilot waved at the screen before taking off. Most of the times, I knew he was waving to never return. But what's my final Choplifter score? I'm giving Choplifter a 6.5 out of 10. It's a really good game on the Master System, and I encourage any Master System owners to pick up this game. To me, that's a must own. But if you're a casual gamer, or if you're curious about this on emulation, I'd only play this if you're into shooters. It's a cool game, but it's not one that you're really gonna miss out on anything if you never experience it. So that's my review of Choplifter. I'm sure everyone agrees with my score. But if you don't, make sure you drop me a comment below. I want to hear your opinion. Do you love this game? Do you hate this game? What are your overall thoughts on it? And if you haven't played it, do you want to play it now? While you're in the comments, make sure you hit that like button, but especially hit that sub button, especially if you love the Sega Master System, as I have plenty of videos on the console and all of its games. Alright, thanks for watching, and make sure you play a video game today.